You're in Camden, Maine.
The mysterious township of From has been plaguing us all since we were first introduced to it. John Griffin's masterful TV show adds science fiction and horror in a masterful blend that any horror fan will come to appreciate. Both Season 1 and Season 2 left us fans completely flabbergasted. In the first season, we were introduced to this place from nowhere, and in the following season we learned that there could be a way out of this horrible place. Now, out of all the main characters we've been following so far, only Tabitha Matthews ended up stepping out of this mysterious fromville. How did she manage to do that? What factors are at play, and where did she end up after stepping out of this mysterious town? Well, we will be answering all of those questions in our video. So, let's get down to business. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means an awful lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Who is Tabitha? What happened to her? Tabitha Matthews, played by Catalina Sandino Moretto, is the matriarch of the Matthews family. Her husband Jim and her two kids Julie and Ethan were traveling in their residential vehicle en route to Yellowstone National Park. On their way there, they came across the mysterious fallen tree and ended up trapped in the town. Jim and Tabitha were married for several years. They had a decently happy life. In fact, they had a baby boy named Thomas too. However, one seemingly normal day, while both Jim and Tabitha were distracted, Thomas rolled off the table and passed away. This death of their infant son put a huge amount of emotional strain on Jim and Tabitha's relationship, leading to them deciding that they wanted to separate. Before separating, as a last hurrah, they wanted to take their kids to Yellowstone National Park. After encountering the fallen tree, Jim and Tabitha ended up in the town. At first, they think that if they drive slowly enough, they will surely not miss the turn. But after the third or fourth time around the same town, following the same road, Jim decided to do a whole U-turn. While going down that road, they almost crashed into another car and the RV toppled. Luckily, people from the town, namely Boyd, Kenny, and Ellis, showed up with Christy to help the Matthews family. Tabitha was knocked out for good. When she finally regained consciousness, she desperately wanted to stay back in the RV as she mistakenly thought Thomas was still stuck there. In reality, it was Ethan who stuck in the RV with a table leg through his thigh. Eventually, Julie and Tabitha had to go back to town with everyone else while Jim stayed back in the RV with Ethan. On their way back, Julie and Tabitha have their first run-ins with the creatures. They have no idea how vicious these monsters are, and with her friendly demeanor, Julie almost does not realize how dangerous they can be. Luckily, Donna, the head of the colony house, let them all in, giving them a safe haven. Tabitha was tied up in a separate room, isolated from Julie, which made her worried sick. That is why the moment she was untied, Tabitha tried to make a run for it. However, before she could go far, the armed guard at the door stopped her. Forced to sit down, Tabitha listens to the harrowing experience that Donna went through when Donna first came to the town. Tabitha, despite everything, does have a hard time believing Donna, even after Donna mentions the fallen tree with a murder of crows. However, eventually, Tabitha learns to accept the harsh reality. When the ceremony arises, Tabitha and Jim chose the town in which to live, but much to their shock, Julie chooses the colony house, splitting the family in two. Tabitha, a mother who has already experienced the grief of losing one child, holds on too tight when it comes to Julie, clearly scared of losing her too. But that simply sours the relationship they have even further. On top of that, Ethan goes missing in the afternoon while Tabitha and Jim are having an argument. The parents went to look for the kid only to find him in the forest with Victor, who keeps a gun in his lunchbox. Alarm bells were ringing in Tabitha's head, but there was not a lot that she could do. One afternoon when Sar, the girl at the diner, offers to show her and Ethan the barn, Tabitha accepts. However, as Tabitha soon finds out, Sarah has ulterior motives. Sarah locks Tabitha in the barn and tries to kill Ethan. Luckily, Sarah's brother stops her and ends up laying down his life for him. Eventually, Jim points out to Tabitha that there are no cables inside the wires, so there is no scientific reason why electricity is being produced around the house. But it is. Seeing this, Tabitha decides to start digging a hole in their basement, hoping to find the source of the electricity. After the colony house attack, Julie finally returns home and starts living with his family. Although reluctant at first, Tabitha eventually starts opening up to Julie about her fears, her thoughts, and everything else, which is a good sign. The mother and daughter heal their relationship while Jim focuses on building a radio to send an SOS signal. On the day the radio tower was hoisted up, Tabitha dug too deep and ended up in a cave system right underneath her house. She learned that the wires led to no power source as she found a power line dangling mid-air. Before she could get crushed by the falling debris of her house, Victor showed up. Victor escaped after Julie on the night of the Colony House attack. However, the faraway tree sent him here, and the boy in white told him to wait for Tabitha there. In the second season, after being rescued and guided out of the underground cave system by Victor, Tabitha is plagued with several visions of ghoulish kids. She tries to approach them, hoping to understand what they want, only to end up panicking as they close in on her. As the season 2 progressed, her visions became more and more frequent, and Tabitha simply could not understand just what exactly she was expected to do. Right then, she opened up with Jade about everything that had been bothering her. In the midst of their talking, Jade realized that Victor withheld some crucial information from him, so Jade, in typical Jade fashion, cornered Victor and went off on him, making Victor extremely uncomfortable. Tabitha went after Victor to comfort him, and that is when he brought her to the car graveyard. He told her that she is a nice lady and showed her the paintings that his sister, Eloise, had made. This is where we learned that Victor's mother left the 2 kids in the root cellar and went to the lighthouse, hoping to save the kids locked up in there. Hearing that Tabitha considered that all this time the kids were not trying to scare her, but they were asking for help. By this time, Julie had fallen victim to the music box monster, and seeing her lying on her bed, completely comatose, made Tabitha restless. She wanted to help Julie, and she figured out that maybe going after the kids and helping them was the only way. She spoke with Jim about it, and with his reluctant blessings, Tabitha asked Victor how his mother had gone to the lighthouse. Victor brought Tabitha to the bottle tree, a special faraway tree that transports everyone who steps into it to the lighthouse and nowhere else. Tabitha goes in, and sure enough, she ends up at the lighthouse. From season 1, Tabitha was plagued with visions and dreams of climbing up the stairs of a tower. When she steps inside the lighthouse, we realize that she has been dreaming about the lighthouse itself. Hearing the children's voices, Tabitha reaches the top floor of the lighthouse where she meets the boy in white. The boy in white apologizes to her and shoves her out the window, saying this is the only way. The next time we see Tabitha, she wakes up in St. Anthony's Hospital, very much in the real world. Why was Tabitha transported to Camden? What place is this? Why is this place important? The season 3 picks up from where the season 2 finale left off, and Tabitha is in Camden, Maine. She is practically on the other side of the country. Now, obviously, a lot of horror fans know Stephen King is from Maine, and John Griffin really likes King's works. So while this could be a very sweet nod to the horror author, this also proves to play an important role in the series. So the lighthouse is the way out of the mysterious town. But why is Tabitha in Camden, a small town in Penobscot Bay? Well, Tabitha was wondering that question herself. She went to the church hoping to find answers, and after having a small breakdown in front of the father, she started rummaging through Victor's lunchbox at the father's request. On doing so, Tabitha came across Victor's full name and address, and yep, you guessed it. He is a Camden, Maine resident. So from the season 2 flashback, we learned that Victor's mom, sister, and Victor himself were trapped in the town. There was no mention of his father, and I personally assumed that Victor's father was dead. Well, Tabitha went to the address written in the lunchbox, and surprise, Victor's father is still alive, albeit disgruntled and a raging alcoholic from those beer bottles he's seen carrying, but he's still alive. Until now, we've been simply worried about how to get out of town, as the town is a nightmare. But with Tabitha outside and her entire family still stuck there, the question is now how to get back inside a town. In the trailer, we see Victor's father's basement full of drawings of the ghoulish kids, so maybe using that as a starting point, Tabitha will be working back and figuring out a way inside. Victor is the oldest resident in the town, so we could say hypothetically, he was one of the first few people to get trapped, so it could be that Camden would turn out to have an important connection with the actual location of the township. Maybe by using Camden as the center, Tabitha and Victor's father would be able to figure out how to return to the town and get everyone out. Now, there's another theory that I have about why Tabitha ended up in Camden, Maine. So the lighthouse acts as a portal, but maybe it needs a port key to work. Like if you get thrown off the lighthouse without having something that binds you to the real world outside, then the portal does not work. So Victor's lunchbox acted as the port key, allowing Tabitha to end up at Camden. She also sees the boy in white on the streets of Camden. This proves that there is some spiritual bleeding happening between the real world, Camden, and the mysterious Townsville. As the boy in white showed up here, Camden would be the best place to start. And since Tabitha seems to be the first person that we know about who left the town, this is where the boy in white needs her to be to solve the mystery once and for all. Marvelous verdict. There's no doubt that this season of From will leave us all breathless. With Tabitha now out and about in the real world and teaming up with Victor's father, I am definitely looking forward to some dark and twisted lore about the town being exposed. I know that we might end up with more questions than answers, but either way, I will have a great time watching it. Let us know what you guys think led Tabitha to Camden, Maine in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys on the next marvelous video. As always, if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.